Today we're beginning our fractions unit and we're going to start with a little bit of fractions review. So let's do some simplifying of fractions. Now you can either use, if your teacher gave you the little simplifying fractions booklet, I'm going to use the following rules. So the first thing we're going to ask ourselves is, are the numbers even? If so, I can divide by 2. Do they end in 5 or 0? If so, I can divide by 5. Do they end in 0? I can divide by 10. Are they a double, like 22, 33, 44? Then I can divide by 11. Then we need to try evil 3, because 3's can sometimes be hard to see. The rule for 3 is if you add the digits together. So 5 plus 1 is 6, so 15 is going to divide by 3. And then the last thing you need to try is the numerator. So if we look at example number 1, 4, 6, they are both even numbers. I can count up to them by 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. So I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, and when I do that, I'm left with 2/3. And I cannot simplify 2/3 any further. And this should be a review from our previous units. If we look at number 2, they're both not even. 21 is not even. They both don't end in 5 or 0. They both don't end in a 0. They're not doubles. We could try evil 3. 8 plus 1 is 9. 2 plus 1 is 3. Both of those numbers divide by 3, so I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 3. 8 divided by 3 is 6. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Then I go back through my rules. Are they even? No. Do they end in 5 or 0? No. Are they end in 0? No. Are they doubles? No. 6 divides by 3, but 7 doesn't divide by 3, and 6 doesn't divide 7. So that is done. How about number 3? They're both even. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Now, in this case, you could divide by 2, numerator and denominator. 4 divided by 2 is 2, 16 divided by 2 is 8. But if you look at this again, 2/8, they're both even again. So I could divide by 2 in the numerator and the denominator again. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 8 divided by 2 is 4. You could also use the big brother to 2, which I say is 4. So I could have actually divided all of this by 4 just to get 1/4. So instead of dividing by 2 twice, you would just divide by 4. Now, is it wrong to divide by 2 twice? No. But you just have to make sure you simplify down the whole way, because if you stop at 2/8, then that's not the correct answer. Okay, last one I'm going to do together with you is number 4. So don't forget that the whole number has to stick with it. In this case, it's not even. They don't both end in 5 or 0. They don't both end in zeros. They're not doubles. We can try evil 3. 3 divides by 3 and 15 both divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Don't forget that whole number out front, though. That's the biggest mistake that most students make. So I want you to pause the video here. I want you to do 5, 6, 7, and 8, and I will check them with you in 1 second. For number 5, you're going to divide by 7 in this one. So you have to try the numerator, and you end up with 1/7. For number 6, you can divide by 5. They end in 5 and 0. So I'm left with 2 and 7/20, and that's where it is done. Don't forget the whole number out front. Number 7, the evil 3 worked, so I'm left with 1/3. And then for number 4, they were both even, so I can divide by 4 top and bottom, and I'm left with 7/15. Oh, I'm sorry, not 4. My mistake, it should be 2. Let's fix that. There we go. Divide by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. So now if we look down at the bottom, I have a little bit of changing here to do. We made a mistake in the notes because we don't use a calculator for this unit. So I want you to scribble this out right here. So instead of dividing with the calculator, we're going to do long division. And we know how to do that. I'm actually going to show you an easier way than maybe what you've been shown before. So, okay, so we're going to do long division with 22 over 4. So 22 is going to go inside, 4 goes outside. Now think in your head, what's the closest we can get to 22? Well, 4 times 5 is 20, and if I subtract, I get 2. This whole number right here, this 5, becomes the whole number of the fraction. The denominator is going to stay 4 because it's the denominator right here. And you can see that the remainder here is 2. But if you don't see that, you could just think in your head, how many times does 4 go into 22? 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. How many more do I need to get to 22 for a numerator? I need 2. And then the other thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you simplify. Now, when it talks about the magic C, that's when we convert improper fractions into mixed numbers into improper fractions, and we're going to talk about that on the next page. But that's just the method I showed you. So if you don't want to do long division, think in your head, how many times does 4 go into 22? 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 more would give me 22 for the numerator. Or you can just do long division. That's fine too. But we always need to make sure that we simplify. So we now have 5 and 2/4. We need to make sure that we simplify that down. So we're going to divide by 2, and we're left with 5 and 1 half. Okay, so let's look at number 10. For this one, I can do the long division. 15 would go inside. Remember, top dog gets the house. 3 goes outside. 3 goes into 15 5 times. Do the subtraction, I get 0. So my answer for this one is just a whole number of 5. Go ahead, you try number 11. If we do the long division, 12 would go inside, 5 would go outside. How many times does 5 go into 12? Well, the closest we can get is 10, so that would be 5 times 2. Do the subtraction, I'm left with 2. So the whole number is 2, the denominator stays 5, and the remainder was 2. Or you can think 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 more gives me 12. And it can't simplify, so it's done. All right, what I would like for you to do is do the rest of the ones on that page, and then when you're done, unpause the video and we can check it together. Okay, so for number 12, 4 times 6 is the closest I can get, which would be 24. So the denominator stays 4, 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 more would give me 25. For this one here, 7 times 6 is going to be the closest I can get. The denominator stays 7. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 6 more gives me 48. For this one, 5 times 11 is going to be the closest I can get. The denominator stays 5. 5 times 11 is 55, plus 1 more to get me to 56. 2 times 6 is going to be the closest I can get for this one. Denominator stays 2. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 plus 1 more gives me 13. 7 times 2 is the closest I can get. Denominator stays 7. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 more gets me to the numerator of 16. For number 17, 8 times 5 is the closest I'm going to get. Denominator stays 8. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 2 more gets me to 48. Now these are even, so you can divide by 2, and you're left with 5 and 1/4. And then the last one, 5 times 4 was the closest you could get. Denominator stays 5. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 more. So that was your answer for that one.